There we go.
Alright, well, I'm Brent. I'm the cater player on the left.
I'm Alex. I'm playing Circle in this match.
I'm Nick, and I was promised food.
I'm Riley, and I also like to party.
Wait.
Yeah, so we're now staring at a blank screen. As we work out some technical difficulties here.
Professional battle ports.
Yeah, you know, these will be great. Yeah. I'm playing the Butcher3 list on the left. You'll see I've got some proxied models because the release hasn't happened yet, but nothing too creative there. Double black dragons and support staff for Butcher. Don't feel like I've got quite enough experience with this guy yet to be making up my own list, so I'm basically just playing the net list for now.
Alright, and my Morvanha list is a Prime Morvanha list with a Woldrath and a Woldweird for her battle group, 2 Black Clads, full unit of Blood Trackers to put regrowth on with a Witch Doctor, because that is just the best, having tough regrowing models, and then a Druids and standard Circle support staff, unit of Stones and Gallows Groves.
And I love Silence of Death because I'm so sick of tough. It's one of the favorite rules down at our shop, so
that's very balanced.
Glad to finally have
very fair.
A fuck you for that one. I don't know, are these PG?
You can fucking say fuck.
Got it.
Riley's here, it's not going to be.
Yeah, no, I'm incapable. So what's the net list for Butcher? It's like
so let's see. This one's got 2 full units of Black Dragons. I got Saxon in there. I got a Boker, Widowmakers, Iris 2, and some Grey Lords. And I guess maybe it's not like a strict everyone's playing Pagani's list or something, but yeah, the double Black Dragons is not super creative. It's Silence of Death is awesome, and Precision Strike plus Silence of Death is broken. So,
oh man,
there's that, and then the Grey Lords are there to help protect Butcher and do stuff. And, I don't know. This works pretty well, I'd say, and I've been making tweaks to it a little bit, but I'm pretty happy with the double dragon package.
So scenario, I think that's fire support, right?
Yeah.
That's why there's a kill box marker up there by the clock that you can't see. So scenario is 2 flags in the center, score 1 to control, 2 to dominate. The objectives are on your own side is friendly and close enough to be contesting. The other one is the opponent's and score 1 to destroy it. I think they give bonuses to light artillery, which is not present on this board, so that's great.
Or on any board.
Hey, I play mortars sometimes.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I do.
So I Circle started with I put Prey on the Black Dragons across from the Blood Trackers. I knew he had the possibility to just keep his standard back, but the Blood Trackers don't kill Arm 18 or 22 without the extra +2, so I felt it was worth sacrificing, leaving Prey on them the whole game.
Yeah, there's not a ton of high value stuff in the list. One of the things I like about it, I've got Beast of 9 and Butcher are pretty high value, obviously, but those are pretty much it. And even Beast of 9 is mostly there to just force peace trades and be a big threat. So I really don't mind losing anything in this list aside from my Warcaster. And the cool thing about Butcher3 is that he can get it done by himself, even if you lose everything else.
Pretty sure we should redefine what is a big threat now that Woldrath has actually come into the picture.
Yeah, you can see him there at the edge of the screen at the start, but he's in this list because Morvanha1 likes to have something to hide behind, and he can actually hit pretty hard. And I designed this list sort of to deal with, at least partially to deal with Butcher3, and it's nice to have a beast that can't be drug in with his impending doom. Makes his threat ranges a lot more predictable, right. I think. The list also has got a lot of anti-magic tech with the Druids and the Woldweird.
So yeah, just start with some Widowmaker shots, and I'm pretty sure I got some unexpectedly hot dice.
Yeah, that was bullshit.
Druids out of the woods. I'm pretty sure another one's going to go down here in just a second.
Killed 2 Def 18 models with fucking Widowmakers turn 1.
So good.
You just try to shoot that tree?
No, I think shooting at another Druid or something.
Yeah, I think went for another one, was out of range on a couple of models.
No, I do think there are some shenanigans before the end of this game. Or was that a different game where... Oh no, that was a different game where I started shooting at stealth stuff because I was stationary, forgetting that stealth still is a thing. Anyway, this list just sort of comes at you now, and I believe in this game that left unit is just running to get in position. I didn't see like a ton of threats over there that I felt like I needed to do what I like to call my first feat, which is double Iron Zealing, shield walling these guys, and giving my pretty much entire front line arm 22. But this game it didn't seem as necessary, so I think I just run up the left side, and then the right side is probably going to shield march here, so that they don't take as many casualties to the blood trackers.
Yeah,
I was happy to have his blood trackers off to one side so that I can stagger like this.
Seems pretty good to have like Prime Striker's feat for just a mini feat.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about this double Iron Fang package.
Slightly better, because you also get the immune knockdown station.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way a couple games ago. So, one thing to note here, the beginning of this game, I told Brent that his Eris model was going to get fucked if she moved up, and because of that, he decided to play her extremely conservatively for the first couple turns of the game.
To the point where she doesn't do all that much.
Which was good for me, because the idea is to keep her away from those blood trackers, which, if they lose regrowth, Morvanha's very sad. Let's just say that.
And this is some classic Butcher tech of put the dogs out in front with the clouds. One of the problems with the Greyler clouds is you can usually just kill the thing that they're on and the clouds go away. But if you kill one of those dogs, I'm pretty happy about that. So please go for it. Otherwise, Butcher just sits behind the cloud wall and gives everyone the finger.
Did you cast anything this turn, or?
Nope.
Yeah.
I don't even think I put out Silence of Death, because at this point I wasn't sure whether I was going to want it on Beast or the Pikeman. Then I realized later I probably could have just stuck it somewhere and potentially double dipped, but oh well, I'm still getting used to this guy.
I like that your beast is pretty immaculately painted, and I think the iris and the Widowmakers and the Marksmen are good. Everything else is just a sea of gray and white.
Hey, wait. Well, at least nothing's metal.
Yeah, at least they're gray and white, as opposed to the whole thing is gray, and we can't tell at all what's going on.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be next weekend when I find those guys.
There's some guys down at the shop, man. Their models are like falling apart. It's like, here's a base, like that's my caster. You're like, what's going on?
Yeah, Alex always puts me to shame with his beautiful stuff every time we play.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll need to get the Woldrath painted still. So the Blood Tracker is activated here. I use their Prey rule to check to see which ones were in range, pretty much. If they're within 10, they get a extra 2 inches movement. And I believe you're allowed to check that at the beginning of their activation, even if you decide to forfeit movement.
Correct.
So the front line stood still because those black dragons are on a hill. Blood trackers are in a piece of rough terrain, if that wasn't apparent, and then the green felt is forest on the top side of the screen. So blood trackers go to town, kill a couple black dragons, not as many as I would have liked, but our 18 will do that.
12s to get to the armor, and
Was that unit
7s to hit or something
Iron
like
Sealed?
that? Yeah, that.
If it was Iron Sealed, then I think it's 12s on 3 dice to kill against the prey target.
Probably should have gotten more than you did, but.
So there I go, moving that one blood tracker all over the place for some reason. Not sure why. I am trying to leave open a lane here because I decided to take the alpha on Beast. My thought there was both Beast. If Beast could get to the Woldrath, he's going to take it down low enough that the Khador army could either kill Woldrath with just Beast and Pikemen, or with Butcher spending like 2 focus and not having to use his feet, which means Butcher is effectively invincible for the rest of the game. So I knew that Woldrath would die somehow. I wanted to at least force Butcher to use most of his 12 focus to do it. So
yeah, and I wasn't really thinking about Beast getting pulled out. I mean, I did stick a cloud on him on a hill, but that's only def 14 for a Khador Jack, and the druids were like, whatever.
Needed a 7. I had 2 chances with those 2 druids behind the wall there in the middle of the board. Hit with 1, then there'll be a hunter's mark here in a couple minutes by that druid right there. He's moving up, sticks hunter's mark, and then after some other more things are resolved, Woldrath will charge in.
Yeah, it seems like with Butcher, you want to force it, so they have to drop your Colossal and your caster that turn, or fuck off.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Butcher hits so hard that I have to force an unfavorable trade for me and hope I can claw my way out.
Yeah.
But the key is to make Butcher have to expose himself to do it.
Right, well, he does hyperextend every time he tries to do it.
Yeah.
Like, he uses a lot of power, but he also leaves his, shit in the wind after he does it.
Right. At least that's the plan.
As we're on my side of the table, I'm thinking, well, I'm looking at Woldrath in my face this turn, but one of the disadvantages of having your big war beast be a construct is that he can't heal it. Or can only heal it with the stones. So I'm thinking, like, well, I might not even need to kill Woldrath next turn. If I charge it with enough Iron Fangs to take out its spirit, and it can't be healed, he's just going to have a big piece in the middle of the board that I don't really need to worry too much about. So I'm sort of not feeling like Butcher's in too bad a shape here. But the other thing is, if I do need to send in Butcher, I also feel like the caster on the other side of the table is potentially soft enough that he could assassinate without the feat. So his threat will be diminished, but only somewhat. And yeah, Woldrath makes short work of Beast of 9.
Is that 3 period?
Yeah, it looks like I only had to put 3 on Woldrath. Pound 19s with auto knockdown is pretty decent for that. And one important thing to note, earlier in the turn, the Woldweird moved up and put Arcane Suppression out. So if Butcher wants to come up and get in the mix, he's not going to be able to do things like pull in half the unit of Blood Trackers while he's killing Woldrath and murder them. Unless he wants to spend tons of Fury or Focus to do it. And I think Morvanha also put Arcane Suppression out just because I was being as safe as I could be.
Well, what else was she going to do with the Fury?
Yeah. I think the only other thing I might have had in mind was throwing out a Eruption of Life, trying to kill a couple more Black Dragons.
Yeah, that was another reason I spread out on the left flank, is because I was worried about Eruption of Life for feet killing a bunch of Black Dragons. Because those Pow 13s hurt. But as usual, the Widowmakers go first, shoot all the exposed druids, and take some shots at the ones in the cover and see what they can do. Those guys are just, they get so much work done in this list every time I play it. I should definitely be playing them more. Although I guess I've been dropping it against people that don't have good ways to take them out, so that's partially why. And then, yeah, I think I'm beginning playing Iron Fang Charge here.
You know, one thing that's really interesting about the Butcher list is that it's still a super well-rounded list regardless of the caster. And I think Butcher, like, really kind of pushes the army over the top because he himself is so scary. You know what I mean? Because you got 2 really hard-hitting units that are really difficult to take out. I mean, PAL 13s with crit knockdown. I mean, you're still, with the volume of attacks, you're still going to do a lot of damage. And the Widowmakers and the Widowmaker Marksmen are awesome. They can just remove just any model that you need to, you know?
Yeah.
And then your support pieces are just there to augment the rest of the stuff. I mean, it's a great list, man. It's really strong.
Yeah, that's sort of what you want a list that can run itself, and Khador is pretty good at building lists like that. And yeah, the double Iron Fangs and Greylords as a package are like just good enough to handle a lot of diverse threats without any support from the caster at all. And so yeah, here's part 2 of the Iron Fang Charge, and we went by pretty quick, so you might not have seen, but those 2 Iron Fangs that got attacks on the other side rolled, I think, 11s or something, or more. I mean, more than 11s, 5s and 6s.
Each of them did at least 5 damage at dice off 7. So yeah, that was great. And then this side proceeds to also crank some rolls. Not quite as bad, but I believe Woldrath was left with just his body exactly, which, I mean, it's a decent amount of boxes, but he's pretty worthless.
Let's see, as I recall, he had 1 box left in mine, and then Iris here is going to take care of that. I felt like that was stylish.
Whatever keeps her off of my blood trackers, I'll take it, I guess.
Yeah, fair enough. She did a little work at least.
She didn't miss. That's generally Iris's MO.
Yeah, luckily Woldrath, doesn't get the engagement bonus and is low defense, so she rolled a 4, I'm pretty sure, but luckily that still hits it.
Her rat score is actually higher than his defense.
Yeah. And it has not stopped her from missing.
Anything but.
No,
So yeah, now that there's a Woldrath with no mind or spirit in the middle of the table, I don't feel like I need to have a pressing need to deal with it. Pretty much most of everything on the table is arm 13 or higher, or def 13 or higher, so just can't be hit anymore by it. So
Yep.
Butcher's just going to bully his way up.
Woldrath's not going to do a whole lot the rest of the game here. I learned after that engagement that those shifting stones, I could have been a bit more proactive with their placement. The turn Woldrath charge, they had to teleport before him because they were somewhat in his charge lane. So that stone farthest on my side's right should have been up against that wall where the druids you can't see are. Hopefully ending up in a spot where I'd be an inch away to heal the Woldrath. Of course, if I had put one there, it would have been fairly trivial for Brent to activate Butcher first, put Silence of Death on a Black Dragon unit and stop that, but at least forces him to commit more than he might have to otherwise.
Yeah, so I'm feeling pretty safe with Butcher, in behind Beast Wreck Marker with the Shield Guard and a Woldrath between him and, a broken Woldrath between him and everything else.
Did you put a cloud on him while he was behind the wreck marker?
Yeah, in case one of those Bloodjackers gets around the side or something. Can't be too safe with the clouds. Also, he's got the other nice thing about the Greyler clouds is they follow you, so if he starts circle shenaniganing me around the table,
sure.
At least I'll still have concealment. When in doubt, Cloud Butcher.
Mm-hmm. You have to protect that dog in Saxon.
Yeah, so my options are not fantastic here, so starting my turn thinking what the hell I'm going to do. Placing some blood trackers with regrowth.
Yep.
I think my only plan here is to just go for attrition, since Woldrath isn't going to do a whole lot. Just trying to clear off as much as possible. Ideally, the ideal situation here is I kill enough Iron Fangs that Butcher will have to do the finishing blow, and again go for that plan of get Butcher down to lower than 6 focus because he popped his feet and is at full camp again. So I'm starting with this Blackclad here, who I was like, oh, I'll move him behind the Woldrath, target Woldrath to get a bunch of Black Dragons. Then forgot that Woldraths can't be targeted by spells, but that Bokor is behind a hill, or on a hill, so Woldrath, even being a huge base model, doesn't block line of sight. So I target the Bokor instead, and spray down 3 Black Dragons.
Yep.
Didn't break armor or hit something on the last one.
The downside of course, sending the Black Dragons in is that they died pretty easily after that. But hey, they've done their job.
And we're about to see this turn probably the most effective Prime Morvanna feat in the history of Prime Morvanna. Because her feat is, in and of itself, it's fairly mediocre, but the problem is the way Morvanha1 works. She spends most of her stack in her control phase to regrow her unit, and then gets Fury back from her army activating and killing models in her control to give her Fury from Harvest, her other upkeep, and then she activates at the end of the turn to spend it all again. But her feat is models killed by melee attacks in her control erupt into forests, but that would require her to go before all of her units, thus not letting her fill up on Fury for the second time. But since I only had 1 blood tracker to regrow this turn, she had a decent stack at the start, so I decided this is the best opportunity I have to get some mileage out of it. And looks like she's activating and did an eruption on the Iron Fang Kovnik. Did some damage to the objective too. And I'm spending a while here looking for decent influence targets because Black Dragons kill each other pretty decently, and with Harvest up, influence, if there's no need to boost hit, influence is basically free if the opponent's model kills one of their own, because I'll spend 1 for influence, they'll kill something, and then I'll harvest a Fury point back. So I spent some Fury there.
But everything, all the Black Dragons are pretty engaged.
I think I tried an influence and missed, and Morvanna moves over, pops feet, and hopes that between the Woldrath and Blood Trackers she's safe right there. I think I might have been playing a bit too conservatively with her, but she doesn't need to get too far up, she just needs to be far enough to keep the front line of the enemy models in her control so she can harvest.
Right, and when you're playing against Butcher3, you sort of have to play conservatively. It's one of his deals, at least until he feats.
Yep. Yeah, I suppose if something else had killed the Woldrath, she's probably actually in threat range of Butcher right there. So Blood Trackers go to town. I think kill almost every black dragon except the ones in the back.
Yep, they evaporated quicker than I was expecting.
Morvanna's rebuilding a stack of Fury to transfer with. I'm quickly learning that her play is actually fairly nuanced in how she can activate and keep herself safe with gaining more Fury. I mean, I think the ideal plan is still to have her army refill her with Harvest, and then she spends as much as a normal Warlock would at the end of her force's turn.
Well, also you've got such a large target in Woldrath there that he like what happened in the previous turn. He's going to absorb so much damage that she doesn't need to regrow 8 models.
Yep.
Yeah, well, and I knew too from having played this matchup 1 or 2 times prior that it wasn't worth putting a lot of effort into the Blood Trackers if I couldn't strip regrowth because they're just going to come back.
Yep. So a couple important things there. Weird moved up and did Arcane Suppression, and that Blood Tracker on the flag there next to him was a bit too far out in the open. I decided I was going to take a free strike, hoping he killed because I realized Blood Tracker was way too close to Iris, and then he went and missed his free strike. Although knowing my luck, I probably would have just passed my tough check and made it even easier for him to hit.
The pro move would have been to not take the free strike, but
yeah,
who thinks of that?
I would have, if I had just kept her in a forest and engaged, probably would have been better off. But at this point, Blood Trackers were actually in a spot where if they lost regrowth, that wouldn't have been too terribly bad off. I don't know. There's a time when if I can't get to Iris with bouncing Electro Leaps off of Woldrath's gun or getting a Blood Tracker close enough, that it's inevitable she'll get there. It's not hard for her to hit a Blood Tracker.
Well, now that turn's passed, I'm sort of looking at my right side of the table there by that red objective and thinking, hey, all of the important models are sort of within a nice 5-inch bubble of where Butcher could be standing. So let's see if I can't capitalize on this somehow. My sort of long-term plan is to go for scenario and, because I figured he'd start moving defensively with his Warlock once Butcher gets up the field, but I feel like at this point I'm attritioning to the point where I can start capturing the far flag and soon start dominating the one on the right side as well. So I think this is going to be the big turn, and I'm going to spend a while thinking about it here, how to best go about this. That Arcane Suppression does make it a problem for Butcher, who wants to go up and Flashing Blade everything, but paying 2 for Flashing Blade is less attractive. I guess it's no better than just buying 2 attacks, so got to deal with that first.
Unless you get 3 or 4 models in your melee, then it's still worth it, I guess. Still fine. So I saw the Woldrath move there. That was us remembering that Woldrath didn't actually activate because I figured he couldn't do anything. So I just moved him up a bit, kept him engaged with stuff. Brent was alright with it, and it makes more sense for him to be facing. He's facing the orientation of the template right there, so Butcher can't charge the World Weird without taking a free strike, which 1 die mat 8 free strike could potentially.
Well, the problem is he rolls a 6, I get knocked down and my activation ends, so that's no fun. Luckily, the War Dog is in this list, so if you need it, you can ignore 1 free strike, basically. Just put the War Dog within 3 inches of where you're going to take the free strike, and it's not a problem.
Well, you could also probably move that Boker to a spot where you won't have line of sight during the free strike.
Possible, but
a single medium base won't block because Woldrath has a larger base. If the free striking model had a smaller base, I would agree with that. But
that would also pretty much put the Boker right where Butcher is going to want to go in a second. So the thing is, he's got all those forests out there, but I can see the Colossal is sort of my tech. And once Butcher charges, he has Relentless Charge, so the Pathfinder for the rest of his activation. Pro tip.
I didn't realize it was
that's
just
how Relentless Charge
he gets
works.
he gets Pathfinder for his whole activation. Like why isn't that just for this charge movement? I mean, admittedly, every model except for Butcher probably doesn't care about the way it's worded, but seriously, every rule on Butcher's card is just like, oh, surprise, this was even better than you thought it was.
Well, he also has sacks in there, so...
Yeah, if he needed it, he
which
could
would
have done
also
that,
be
but
possible.
now he can give it to a couple Black Dragons and they can charge.
Yeah.
Too.
So Irish just stripped off regrow.
Yes, and Tuft the Blood Tracker. And I've only got, I think, the Standard and the Officer left in that unit, but the Officer's going to go in and try to see what he can do. I think he might have even missed. Serves him right. But, yeah, so my plan basically is to send Butcher in, charging, targeting Woldrath, and get as far as I can, and then that should put me sort of right in the area where I can just buy attacks to kill the weird, and then do Butcher's thing. And so I'm placing the dog so I won't take the free strike as I go by, and reading my cards because I still don't know what this guy does. Alright, so here we go. Proxy base time because shit's getting real. So Butcher moves up, and dogs. I always forget about the dogs. That dog probably ends up having to either take a free strike or I don't even know, but whatever. Dogs do whatever they want. They're there to die. Give me vengeance moves. And yeah, Butcher just goes to work. Now, one thing I didn't think about at the time was that I am going to have to spend my Energizer under Arcane Suppression in order to get line of sight on the what's it called? World Weird. Yeah. So I don't get quite as far with my Energizer move as I had wanted, but I do get into a pretty good position and then am able to just continue to hack away and kill as many Blood Trackers as I can while I regrow this strip.
Yeah, because turns out POW 16 Weapon Master kills an Armor 16.
And apparently I forgot that there was a camera, and I'm just going to stand in front of the screen for a while. So, that's a thing. It's going to happen here.
Yeah.
You can check out the lovely pattern on my shirt there. It's
So did your dogs just garbage charge the Woldrath?
I think one charged and one ran, and then I was thinking, I can do a POW, I think it's POW 17 combo strike with the one that charged, but then I think I just forgot to even activate them.
Ooh, and I hope the camera learns how to refocus when Brent moves out of the way, because secondary was just bouncing back in and out.
This is great television right here, let me tell you.
Brent is apparently trying to break all of Steven's equipment.
Yeah, well...
All right, good.
All right.
It found its focus.
So there you go. That's where Butcher ends his activation, having killed several Blood Trackers and the Woldrath and
magic behind the scenes,
and then feeding back up to full strength or relatively full camp.
I think you're camping 4 or 5 there. Still way too much for me to deal with.
Yeah, in War Dog range, not quite in Boker range, but not many guns left on the field anyway. So.
Not in a great spot here.
And then, I had clouded Butcher as well.
Surprise, surprise.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I think my turn's starting here. In a bit of a desperate spot. There's really no way that I can hope to win now, because any chance that scenario is probably gone. Actually, looking at it now, if I hadn't lost regrowth, I might have actually been able to pull off this assassination. Just bring back 5 or 6 Blood Trackers, and aim at Butcher. As is, I'm about to go for just super long shot. I think the general plan is use one of my 2 druids, or 2 or 3 druids that have crit knockdown weapons to knock him down, then throw spears and charge Morvanha as last ditch. But that quickly falls apart, and we can keep watching, but game's over at this point.
Oh man, spoilers. Morvanha totally doesn't stab Butcher to death.
Yeah. I don't even remember if she tries.
I'm trying to remember, we'll see here, but I don't know what she did with Fury. That said, I don't think a POW 12 Mat 6 can kill a, 18 box ARM 22 model?
Yeah.
Or however big.
Yeah, and sort of this is the Butcher game plan at work, right? Like, I've killed all the things that can reasonably kill Butcher, so...
And he's super camp.
And now he's just going to chill and bully people around. Like, thinking long term, he'll just probably walk over and kill that objective next turn, and then I can start dominating that flag. Hopefully clear out the other flag and
Looking at this again,
scenario it out.
I think what I should have tried to do is... I'm pretty sure Morvanha can't just walk and engage, but first off, I should not have engaged him with either of those druids, because if I was pretty much relying on the crit knockdown, otherwise the
destroy the camp.
otherwise the spears aren't going to have a chance of hitting, so they'd have to charge in. But the other thing I should have done is activate Morvanha first and put up... Oh, nope, never mind. I was going to say put up Druid's Wrath, but that's an animus that is no longer on the table. That's why I didn't do it. I knew there was a reason. But had I had Druid's Wrath, a couple of 3 dice to hit, crit knockdowns, pretty nice. So yeah, I'm just charging Blood Trackers. I was looking for a way to try and swap prey, but I have to kill that
Left the flag
Black Dragon on the
back.
flag and the Flag Bearer, which would have been a Snapfire.
Well, apparently that was the end of that.
We're done with that game.
So
It's
here's
time for
another
Gavin.
game. All right, so
Let's not this
so
one.
yeah, I believe at that point was a forfeit because of the reasons we had just talked about.
Yep,
We didn't
I-
actually play out the rest.
Charged in, tried to see what could have happened, but after I didn't get a crit knockdown, I don't think there was any chance of that working out.
So Butcher basically kind of abuses the fundamental advantage of War Machine over most other systems, which is you kill the high POW targets that can threaten him, and then you super camp and you just say, well, now I'm just going to be a bully for the rest of this game.
Yeah, what I think is sort of so fun about him is, because he has that focus replenish feat, he sort of gets to do all the cool stuff you're always imagining in your head that your Warcaster can do.
Right.
And then still be safe. Because usually it's like, well, I've got this Warcaster that can do all this sweet offensive stuff, but then I'm going to be out in the middle of the field with no
Super
focus on me,
exposed,
and
yeah.
I'm going to die. Butcher can go do all that cool stuff. He's really good at doing that cool stuff. And then when he's done, he can feet back up to a good 4 or 5 focused camp, already got solid armor, and be fairly safe, provided you got enough work done. So that's sort of...
He's basically, P-Butcher and E-Butcher rolled into one.
Right.
Like, he does all the offense of E-Butcher, and then he's like, oh, wait, and then there's all this camp.
Right.
Yeah, he's like what Chromac wishes he could be.
Well, Chromax does way more for his army, though. Luckily, Butcher's in a faction where he doesn't need to do a lot for his army.
Yeah. I'm not complaining about Chromac, but his feat leaves a bit to be desired.
Yeah.
I've, on multiple occasions, popped his feat and then didn't kill anything because he's like a Mat 7 or 8 POW 14.
Yeah.
Not as good as a Mat 9 POW 16 Weapon Master, for sure.
Yeah.
That's the thing on melee assassin casters. It's just like, you don't see them a whole lot because, they miss and then they're standing right fucking next to you.
Right.
Because most of them aren't Mat 9 and
Right.
Reach Weapon Masters.
Right.
Just Butcher.
Yep, so he's a sweet model.
Yeah, he's very good.
Okay, Virus is also like Mat 9 with flank and a weapon master. He's just not very good.
Fair enough.
You can't get 12 attacks or however many Butcher can
yeah.
get.
Right.
Butcher gets as many attacks as there are models around him to swing at.
Right.
Basically.
With Flashing Blade. Ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a strong army composition, though. I mean, the double Black Dragons and then the Widowmakers, man. The Widowmakers are really good, too. They're kind of like the icing on the cake because they can really start to thin out the enemy's infantry on the way in or pick off important support pieces. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
they can open charge lanes and...
They're good. They're really good.
Or they
Spot
can...
removal.
just-
So good.
Yeah.
They're very useful, and if they don't have... usually Widowmakers die to AoEs, but I've been fortunate enough to be dropping this list in matchups where they don't usually bring a lot of AoEs, like Signar and Circle here, in this example. So the Widowmakers are just able to sit 14 inches away from the battle, and...
So do you pair this list based off the idea that you don't want to, fight AoEs with your second, or you have to fight AoE with your second list, or do you?
To be honest, I haven't gotten that far into how I'm going to do tournament pairings for this list yet. I'm still sort of figuring it out and tweaking the list as well. But I would say that probably wouldn't factor hugely into my decision. I think the usefulness of Silence of Death and the effectiveness of Black Dragons is probably would be higher on my mind than whether Widowmakers are going to get stuff done.
Yeah, unless you're talking about auto-fire AoEs, the Black Dragons don't really care that much about blast damage.
Right.
Well, auto fire, auto corrosion, but that is basically what I'm talking about because we're talking about Legion and Crix,
Yeah.
stuff like that for AoE.
Even Menoth, if they have the...
Menoth would be the big one. I don't think you drop this Butcher list particularly. Against,
Yeah, Minoth and Legion both
Protectorate.
would be able to take out the Widowmakers, and this particular build, the Widowmakers are like basically my ranged element. Widowmakers and Iris and Saxton are pretty much my only guns. So if I lose them, then not having the ability to reach out at range is pretty tough. My current version of this list also gets Uppic Alexia in there, because like I said, I love to try all the internet's favorite things. And she's pretty good in that role of spot removal as well. So that's a direction I think I'm going to go with it.
So how do you beat Butcher?
Well, if he overexposes himself, you have to be ready to take care of that. A lot of people will. I mean, I faced him on the other side of the table a couple times and seen either the Butcher player move too far forward in anticipation of using the feat in the next round and then being too exposed, or using the feat and then not camping enough or not perceiving the threats correctly. So there's that avenue. Otherwise, I don't know the answer to that question.
So in conclusion, Butcher's totally broken. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Your opponent fucks up, and then you kill them?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
kill their army, then their warcaster.
That is how you
assault
do
it. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that was a battle report.
Yeah, I'm Brent,
Alex.
Nick?
Riley.
and we'll see you next time. Change.